You ready? Here's another brain-busting workout for you, and off we go! After classes, Margot was studying in the library. At one point, she left for the bathroom. When the girl returned, she found out her wallet was gone. Margot immediately called the police. The librarian said she'd seen some guy, but she had poor eyesight and couldn't remember what he looked like. After listening to her vague description, the police officers questioned 3 students. Owen said he had been studying and hadn't even left his desk until the police arrived. Finn said he'd seen the girl but never really paid attention to her. He was looking for some books. Lucas said he'd been busy talking to his friend on the phone. He hadn't seen anything. Can you figure out who stole the wallet? It was Luca. He said he'd been talking on the phone, but it's prohibited in the library. If he had used his phone, he'd have been immediately kicked out. So, he's lying. During a casual walk deep in the forest, Esme got lost. After hours of wandering, she saw a witch's house. Esme asked the elderly woman to show her the way back. The witch refused, but she was in a good mood and offered a deal. She gave Esme 3 apples. 2 of them were poisoned and 1 was okay to eat. The girl had to pick 1 apple and bite into it. If she didn't get poisoned, the witch would show her the way home. Esme was a smart girl and managed to do it. How did she know which apple to pick? In 1 apple, there was a worm, which means it was safe to eat. A student was having an exam and he was about to fail it. The professor decided to give him 1 more chance and asked the last question. It was, "What's my oldest daughter's name?" The student was puzzled. The professor decided the question was too hard and gave the guy a hint. He wrote down 3 numbers, 58, 3, and 11. Can you help the student answer the question? It's a chemistry class. The riddle must be related to this subject. Have a look at the periodic table. The 58th element is cerium, or Ce. The 3rd element is lithium, Li. And the 11th element is sodium, or Na. If you put all of them together, you'll get the name Selena. The professor liked the game. When another student was struggling with his task, he gave him another puzzle. The man said, "I have daughters. All of them, except 2, have dark hair. All of them, except 2, have blonde hair. And all of them, except 2, have red hair. How many daughters do I have?" Can you help the student out? This time, the riddle has nothing to do with chemistry. Pure logic. The professor has 3 daughters. 1 of them has dark hair, the 2nd is blonde, and the 3rd daughter has red hair. Ben was walking in the park at night when someone knocked him out and stole all his stuff. The guy went to the police. 3 people, Cole, Jerry, and Bernard, were in the park at that time. They got arrested. The detective gave each of them a marker and asked them to write their names on the whiteboard. As soon as they finished, he immediately arrested the right person. Who was guilty, and how did the detective find it out? It was Jerry. Ben was hit from the right. It means the person who did it was left-handed. Among the 3 suspects, that's only Jerry. Really? Ben and Jerry? I think I need some ice cream. A member of an expedition to the South Pole found himself in a frozen cave. He didn't remember what had happened, but he knew he had to get out. The man saw 3 doors and a note saying what was behind each of them. Behind the first door, there was a hungry polar bear. Behind the second door, there was a room filled with poisonous gas. And behind the third, there was a room with sharp icicles falling from the ceiling every second. Which door should the man choose to survive? He should pick the first door. He's at the South Pole. There are no polar bears there. After classes, Nora stayed at the university. She needed to finish her project. She was sitting in the hallway. Soon, she got hungry. The girl went to grab some food and left all her stuff behind. When Nora returned, she checked her things and called the police. She told them what had happened and reported her wallet stolen. There were 3 other students nearby. All of them were questioned. Kennedy said she had been texting her friends. Ethan said, "I did sit close to Nora for a while, but I didn't see or touch her wallet." Gabriella said she had been in the classroom and just walked out a couple minutes before. The detective listened to them and left without arresting anyone. Why? The detective remembered that Nora had gone to get some food. It means the wallet was with her and couldn't be stolen. The girl lied. 3 women, Sarah, Milla, and Eleanor, went shopping. 2 of them are pregnant, and 1 is a professional watermelon thief. Yeah, I know, but just humor me. Can you tell which one stole the watermelon? It's Milla. She's wearing heels. It's not the kind of shoes pregnant women would wear. Aurora was spending her summer in the countryside. She often took long walks in the forest alone. One day, she saw a huge mansion. It was obvious no one lived there, so she entered the house. It was dusty inside, but still beautiful. Aurora took some pictures and left the place. When the girl came back home, she looked through her photos. She wanted to pick the best ones to post on her social media, but then she saw one of the photos and screamed. Take a careful look at this photo. Can you see what scared her so much? Aurora noticed she, herself, was in the photo. But it's impossible. She was alone in the house. Stella and Adeline were sisters. Their grandmother once presented Adeline a bracelet. But both girls loved this piece of jewelry very much. So sometimes Stella snuck into her sister's room and borrowed the bracelet. One day, Adeline came home and noticed the bracelet was gone. She knocked on her sister's door. Stella opened the door, realized it was her sister, and shut it again. In a couple of minutes, Adeline managed to break into the room. She started searching for the bracelet. Stella told her that this time she hadn't taken Adeline's jewelry. Adeline didn't find anything and had to leave. But on her way out, she remembered something and managed to get her bracelet back. Where was it? When Stella opened the door, she had her hair down. But later, she already had her hair tied up. In those few minutes, she made a bun and hid the bracelet in her hair. On a rainy summer night, Mrs. Miller came home after work. Her neighbor, Mrs. Smith, visited her. The women wanted to have some tea together. Mrs. Smith said her daughter was at a party. She met one of Mrs. Miller's triplet sons there. Mrs. Miller asked which one it was, but her friend didn't know. Her daughter could never tell the guys apart. The problem was all 3 of them were grounded and weren't allowed to go out until the next week. Mrs. Miller wanted to find out who had broken the rules. She called the boys and asked how they'd spent the day. Ian, the artist, said, "In the evening, I was outside drawing." Ryan, the musician, said, "I spent all day inside writing a new song." Luke, who likes sports, said, "I did a workout and spent the rest of the day reading." Mrs. Miller understood which of her sons was lying and grounded him for another month. Who's the liar, and how did she know? Ian lied. He said he had been drawing outside. but it was raining. Another day, another walk in the forest, and Esme got lost again. And still, she managed to find the way to the witch's house. This time, the woman had another task for Esme. The witch gave Esme a candy bar and a knife. She was going to perform 7 tricks. After each of them, Esme had to give her 1/7 of the bar. But there was a catch. The knife was magical and could only make 2 cuts. It was also impossible to break the bar or cut it without the knife. How did Esme fulfill these conditions and return home? Esme made 2 cuts, dividing the bar into the following pieces: 1/7, 2/7, and 4/7. After the first trick, she gave the witch the 1/7 piece. After the second one, the girl offered the woman the 2/7 piece and took away the 1/7. After the third trick, she gave the witch the smallest piece back. After the fourth trick, Esme took away the first 2 pieces and gave the woman the 4/7 piece. Then she gave her the smallest piece again. After the sixth trick, the girl took away the 1/7 and gave the witch the 2/7 piece. And after the last trick, she gave the woman the smallest part of the bar again. Bonus question. Hey, if Esme is so smart, how come she keeps getting trapped in the forest? I have no answer.
Marcus is a lucky game show winner. He can choose one of 3 prizes: a brand new Mercedes, an expensive laptop, or a designer wallet. What do you think is the best choice? Comment below. Look at this Mercedes. The logo is crooked. The car must be fake. The same goes for the wallet. This logo is supposed to be written in a different way. That's what the real logo looks like. But the laptop seems to be okay. The logo is correct. So, Marcus should probably opt for this device. On a rainy evening, Megan came home and found that someone had eaten her chocolate bar. She asked her sisters whether one of them had done it. Maria said she'd been working out in her room and hadn't left it the whole day. Amelia said she would never eat someone else's chocolate. And Emma answered that she'd been outside, watering plants in the garden. She'd just come home herself. Help Megan find out the truth and share your ideas in the comments. It must be Emma. Why would she need to water plants outside if it's raining? Kayla was staying at a hotel in Paris. One day, someone broke into her room and took all her expensive stuff. The police had 3 suspects. Alan said that he had been trying to pour himself some coffee downstairs, but with his arm in a sling, it had been extremely tricky. Marie told the police that she had been at the reception trying to solve some issues with her shower. And Bruce said that he had been sleeping. Help the detectives figure out who's guilty and leave them a message in the comments. Alan broke into Kayla's room. Look at his cast. He's wearing it over his sweater. It must be fake. Detective Morton has received wedding pictures of 2 newlywed couples from a client. He knows that both couples got married on the same beach in the Maldives. It's famous for its beautiful sunsets. But one of these couples is indeed very rich, while the other is broke. For some unfathomable reason, the detective client wants to know which couple has money. If you figure it out faster than Morton and write your answer in the comments, the detective will probably have to give you his badge. The guys on the right are wearing very simple wedding suits, but they're indeed celebrating their wedding on the beach. But if you take a closer look at the couple on the left, you'll soon realize the lighting on their fancy clothes and faces doesn't match the background. Plus, you can spot a few green screen fragments at the edges of the picture. Their photo isn't real. They can't afford to go to the Maldives in real life. They're broke. Mark found himself in the middle of a forest with 3 paths in front of him. The first one was covered with burning hot coals. The second path was so cold that it felt like Antarctica under his feet. And the third path was covered with sharp nails that were able to pierce any footwear. Tell Mark in the comments which path he should choose. The guy should pick the third path. All that ice is bound to be gone soon since it's too close to hot coals. Adam was driving home late at night when he noticed he was about to run out of gas. He stopped at a gas station to fill his gas tank and buy some snacks. Inside, there was a cashier and another customer dressed in black. When Adam came up to the employee to pay, she told him $505. Adam paid, went outside, and called the police to report an emergency. If you have any idea why he did so, comment below. You probably noticed that the cash register actually showed $18.35, but the cashier said $505, which looks like SOS. Detective Brown rushed to an expensive restaurant. Someone had stolen a gold spoon there. If the detective didn't find the real culprit, the waiter would have big problems. Luckily, there were still a lot of people in the restaurant, and Detective Brown questioned the main suspects. A group of friends said they were celebrating a birthday. They wouldn't spoil their party this way. A cheerful man said he'd been walking in the area and had dropped by to check out this place. And a miserable-looking guy answered that his wife had left him, and he had come to the restaurant to take his mind off his problems. You must help the detective to find the criminal. When you do, write your answer in the comments faster than the others. The second man lied. He'd said he'd been to the restaurant for the first time, but look, he's wearing a hat with the restaurant's logo. Gotcha! Adam's car broke down right in the middle of a deserted forest road. But the worst thing was that it was winter, snowdrifts were huge, and the wind was freezing cold. Adam had to get to the nearest town, and fast. But if he followed the first path, he'd have to deal with hungry wolves. The second road went through the area inhabited by bears, and if he took the third path, he'd have to cross a river covered with thin ice. You need to help the guy as fast as possible and tell him what road he should opt for in the comments. Adam should sneak through the bear's territory. These animals usually sleep in the winter. Liza was a millionaire's daughter. She was fed up with her father trying to control her life. After he told her one day he'd found a fiancé for her, she decided to run away from home. The girl knew her father would send his people to bring her back, so she never stayed in one hotel for more than one night. Once, she found herself in a small town. It was getting dark, and she had no choice but to stop at the first hotel she saw. The receptionist said that her room number was 910 and offered to show her where it was. Liza immediately grabbed her bag, ran out of the hotel, jumped in her car, and speeded away. If you can write in the comments the reason for such a weird reaction, you deserve the title of the true detective. The first digit of a hotel room number usually means the floor it's on. Room 910 is supposed to be on the 9th floor, but look at the hotel. It only has 3 floors. Young fashion designer Bruno was preparing for his first show. He was a bit anxious, so he took a break to steady his nerves. But when it was time for him to present his collection, no one could find him. In an hour, a security guard saw him in the bathroom, lying on the floor. Someone had hit him on the head. The police had 3 suspects. Maya, one of the models, said she'd had problems with her dress and hadn't even had time to leave the dressing room. Catherine, one of the guests, said that she was Bruno's biggest fan and had been wearing his clothes for years. Apparently, she had no reason to hit him. Sam, the designer's assistant, said he had rushed to the nearest coffee shop to get Bruno an Americano to calm him down. Who is the culprit? Share your ideas in the comments. It was Catherine. That day, it was Bruno's first show. Then how could she be wearing his clothes for years? Richard had a collection of beautiful paintings. One day, while he was away, his favorite one got stolen. The police suspected one of Richard's neighbors. Nicole said she'd been out of town. She returned home just an hour ago and was so tired after a long drive that she immediately went to bed. Dennis said he had been getting ready to paint his house, but since it didn't seem the rain would stop anytime soon, he went to the movies instead. Julie answered that her sister had been feeling unwell. That's why Julie was busy looking after her little nephew. Take that magnifying glass of yours and tell us the truth. Who's guilty? It was Nicole. It had been raining for the whole day. If the woman had returned home just an hour before, the road under her car would be wet.
Jill and Jim live in the US. One day, Jim goes on a business trip to Europe. Jill misses him very much, so she calls him up. She asks Jim to take a selfie and send it to her. He agrees. Jill gets furious as soon as she sees the picture. Jill: "You're a liar." How did Jill figure it out? Europe and the US are in different time zones, but in Jim's photo, it's noon. That's American time. He never left the country. Can you find a zombie in this picture? Over here. What about this ski resort? Can you spot any zombies? Hello? And now let's see if you can find a zombie in this amusement park. It's hiding over here. The biggest bank in town was robbed last night. The local police investigate this case and find 2 suspects. They go to search their houses. The officer sees a clue and figures out who the criminal is. How did he guess? Let's take a look at the walls. There's the same picture in both houses. But this one is hanging upside down. There's probably a stash behind it. Busted. A teacher has 21 colored pencils. 7 red, 7 yellow, and 7 blue. She needs to divide them into 2 piles so that one pile would have 3 times fewer red pencils than the second one. And the second pile should have 2 times fewer yellow pencils compared to the first pile. How many blue pens would be in each pile? Zero. The teacher had 21 pencils, not pens. Can you rearrange these crayons and make 4 triangles? To solve this mystery, you gotta think outside the box. Here's the correct answer. Let's make the task a little harder. Can you remove just 2 crayons to make 2 squares? Ready to see the result? There you go. Donna goes to a supermarket and spots something weird. 2 of these women are pregnant, but one of them just stole a watermelon. Can you guess who? It's the third lady. She's wearing high heels, not what pregnant women would wear to a grocery store. Kitty wakes up in a creepy basement. She needs to open this door to escape. Can you guess the right order to press the buttons? Kitty needs to make the word unlock from the first letters of each emoji. Therefore, she should press the buttons in the following order: unicorn, nose, lobster, onion, cactus, kiss, and voila. Today is Cassie's birthday. She brings a cake to work to celebrate with her colleagues, Stan, Gemma, and Rosie. Cassie unpacks the cake in the office kitchen. Suddenly, Granny calls, and Cassie goes outside to talk to her. After a while, Cassie returns and finds her precious birthday cake on the floor. She questions everyone. Stan says, "I was sending an important email, so I didn't look at the kitchen. But I think it was Gemma. She's just pretending to be your friend." Gemma says, "I went to the toilet to wash my hands. When I returned, the cake was already on the floor." And Rosie says, "I don't know what happened. I went to the opposite side of the room to turn on the coffee machine. I made cappuccino for everyone." Who's lying? The coffee machine is off, and all the coffee mugs are empty. Therefore, Rosie lied. She was busy doing something else while Cassie was away. Detective Bold is having lunch at his favorite cafe. He looks through the window and sees his neighbor Zelda rushing home. They both live next to the cafe. Suddenly, Zelda runs back and approaches the detective. Zelda: "Please help me. My apartment was robbed while I was out. I didn't touch anything. I just ran here right away to find you." Detective Bold goes to see the crime scene. He looks around and says, "Stop fooling around, Zelda. There was no robbery." How did he know? Take a look at this umbrella. Zelda carried it with her when she was rushing home, but she told the detective that she didn't touch anything at the crime scene. She just threw her stuff around the room to make it look like a robbery. Take a look at this fancy group of people. One of them is a real vampire. Can you guess who? It's the second guy. The first guy struggles with drinking this reddish beverage. The lady is just wearing a cosplay costume. And the guy on the right is taking a selfie, which means he shows up on camera. Therefore, he's a human being. Jeff calls the police early in the morning. Jeff: "My neighbor cut down a tree on my car." A policeman arrives soon. Policeman: "What happened?" Jeff: "My neighbor and I had a quarrel last night. When I was ready to go to bed, I saw him standing in front of my car. In the morning, I went out to drive to work and saw this. My car is pretty old, but he still has to pay compensation for the damage." The policeman questions Jeff's neighbor. He says, "Jeff is a bit weird. He's always trying to start a quarrel for no reason. I didn't touch the car. I was sleeping all night long." The policeman examines the car and immediately realizes which of the neighbors was lying. Who cut the tree down? Can you guess? Jeff. He cut down the tree with this axe and then tried to put the blame on his neighbor to hit him up for money. Mike is an astronaut. His team consists of 2 other people. They're twins, Rob and Bob. They go to Mars for a month to study the local life forms. Time flies by quickly, and today they have to return to Earth. Mike goes to say hi to his little crew, but he finds 6 identical people in the spaceship. Mike realizes that the Martians can take any shape. Whom should he take back to Earth? This astronaut has 3 fingers. This guy's hair color is different. This imposter has forgotten to put on human ears. And this guy has different eye color. So the real Bob and Rob are over here. What's wrong here? The goalkeeper is holding a tennis racket. Also, why do they need 2 hockey pucks? Shelley downloads a dating app hoping to find new love. She likes several guys. They begin to chat and share some selfies. All 3 guys claim to be single and living alone, but only one of them is telling the truth. Can you guess who? first guy sent Shelley a selfie from his bathroom. He's wearing a bathrobe. But there's another silk bathrobe hanging in the background. It's pink and small. Why would he need it if he's living alone? And the second guy is obviously fond of jewelry. He's wearing a ring on each finger, including the ring finger. So he's probably married. Only the third guy is telling the truth. And Shelley should give him a chance. A dangerous criminal escapes from prison. The police are chasing him, and the trail leads them into a small village. They question the locals and check the fields. Soon they see a farmer in a cornfield. The detective asks him if he had seen any suspicious strangers around. Farmer: "Sorry, I didn't focus on what's going on around me. I was too busy dealing with my corn. It's getting dark soon, and I need to harvest as soon as possible." The detective immediately figures out that this guy is the wanted runaway criminal. How? Corn is not harvested like this, so he can't be a real farmer. Can you see any odd details here? The phone is unplugged, and the laptop is missing a keyboard. Can you spot anything odd? Take a look at this guy. His fishing style is pretty weird. What about this scene? What are they doing wrong? This lady is skating on the pavement.